Welcome. You're tuned into Life is a Sacred Journey. Every week, we bring a new perspective to aging and caregiving. Here is your host, Micheal Pope.
Well, happy day. It is Friday, March. Wow, I can't even remember what the date is because we have been in this shelter-in-place time with the pandemic of COVID-19. And so I want to welcome you to Life is a Sacred Journey. I want to say to our 15,000 listeners worldwide, I am sorry and I apologize for not having the capability of dropping more podcasts. We thank you for your continued listenership. We thank you for your continued support. And so we are back online. We want to thank Katia Kabwe for being our producer for so many years, and he got a new job, so he is no longer available to be the producer, but I am happy to say that Felicia has joined us as our producer, and I'm so excited about that. She was one of our collaborative interns, fellows, over 5 years ago. We were talking yesterday, and she's come back to help us produce this wonderful podcast for all of you 15,000 listeners, and this time we're going to hit more, and we're going to stay on target, and we're going to continue to bring you information as you try to be a caregiver. Today we thought it was important to come and talk about COVID-19 and dementia, because here in the state of California, we are in a state of what they call shelter in place. ASAB, Alzheimer's Services of the East Bay, is an essential service, so we are open and practicing crowd control, so we're only able to bring in 7 people at a time and have 3 staff available, which include nursing to support them, and rotate people out Monday through Friday so that our caregivers continue to get some support and get some, just get what they need. And so we're very excited about the fact that we are able to support families and to help families as they continue to shelter in place. So I'm going to go over some of those terms because I think they're confusing. But if you have any questions, please call in. Our guest call-in number is 949-270-5908. I'll try to make sure that you'll come up on the virtual screen here, and I'll try to make sure I get your question and get you in online. But right now, I just want to talk about some terms that I know were very confusing to me. And I want to make sure you understand the difference between them. So shelter in place. I did my homework last night and looked at the CDC page as well as the World Health Organization page, which I will tell you are the best pages. So if you're looking for any information, go to those pages and extrapolate data from there. But there's a lot to look at. So let me break it down a little bit for you. When we're talking about COVID-19, we're talking about the disease caused by the virus SARS, CoV-2. And if you're sick, then you have COVID-19. If you were infected by SARS, CoV-2, and if you're still very confused, because I'm confused, then what that means is then you have the coronavirus, but you may not be showing any symptoms. So that's where the dilemma is coming in with our young adults, where they all thought that just because they were asymptomatic that they were not carriers of COVID-19, and in fact we later found out after spring break in Florida they were. And so, we're trying to figure this all out, and our politicians and our health departments are all trying to figure it out. But what we have learned is that if we keep social distancing, so we have practiced social distancing here at Alzheimer's Services of the East Bay, and that's 6 feet to 10 feet distance from another individual. Now, how hard is that when the person has dementia or Alzheimer's and really needs your support and help and needs you to keep close to them? Distance is something that we don't even practice when we're trying to stay close to our seniors and help them as they navigate their activities of daily living. But we're doing it, and we're learning a new way. I will tell you a little side story because I think it just talks about what's happening to those living with dementia in our community. I was down in the program area, and when we're in the program area and not isolated in our offices, we're wearing a mask. And the mask, I went down and I had the mask on, and one of the program participants said to me, well, why are you all wearing all those masks? And I said to her, well, we're wearing the mask because we are trying to keep from passing colds and bugs around and keep you safe. And she thought about it for a few minutes, and then she said, oh, thank you so much. That's so kind of you. I love you. And so, again, people with dementia are trying to figure out, why are we washing their hands? Why are we washing our hands? Why are we wearing masks? Why are we wearing barrier clothing to keep not only them safe and us safe? And so going through an explanation that's simple with your loved one or with people that you're serving is going to be really important, because it does look strange. I thought about it. I went downstairs and looked at myself in the mirror, and I realized how strange it looks to have half of your face covered with this mask. So an explanation is a really good thing. We are not in quarantine mode per se when we're in shelter in place. It's kind of interesting that shelter in place, social isolation, and quarantine are all words that are being used together. A quarantine is where we're restricting our movement and we're isolating people who have already been exposed to the infection. So the quarantine of our cruise ships on the shores of California for 17 days or 15 days, that's a quarantine. Isolation is when we take people who have been diagnosed and we isolate them away so that they're not passing that bacteria in. Lockdown is, definitely a scenario that we may have to discuss and be a part of. Lockdown basically means you cannot leave your house. You cannot even go outside for a walk as you can now. So we're looking at all kinds of different things happening, and misinformation is rampant. We are at a place right now where people are scared, and the misinformation. Stay in your home if you can. If you have to go out because you are an essential worker, or you're have to go to the grocery store, or you have to do something for your family and it requires you to go outside, make sure you do it early in the morning. If you're like me, I'm a senior, I'm over the age of 60, and in the high risk group because I also have asthma and high blood pressure. So I'm in that group, and so when I go to the store, I'm there early. It used to be easier a couple of weeks ago because they were still maintaining their hours, and now they're not. I went to CVS this morning to try to purchase some Lysol spray to bring into the program, and they now have changed their hours, and they're not opening until 9 when they used to be open at 7. And the note on the door just said they need more time to make sure that they're cleaning their store and allowing people to be able to get in and out and knowing that the store is clean. I do see that we have someone online. I'm not sure. Let me see if I can make their mic. I have to remember all of this stuff.
Hi, Michelle.
So I have you live, a live mic for you, caller. Do you have a question for us today or a comment around COVID-19 and dementia?
Hi, good morning. I'm not sure if that's me. This is Carol. I'm the program director over in our ASAB, Alzheimer's Services of the East Bay Center in Fremont.
Yes, Carol. Good morning. You're live.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to thank you for keeping everyone informed, your listeners, about the parameters of between the fear and the facts of COVID-19, because it's so easy to get into the fears more than the facts, because the news looks really bad, And where I'm coming from as a program director of a center that takes care of people with dementia and whose families, even before this lockdown, have already been very stressed out, with the challenges of living with someone with memory loss. We wanted to let them know that if they felt safe, if their loved one is healthy, that if they are willing to send them back to our program so that they could, number one, for the family to be able to also rest and maybe do some shopping during the day, and also for our participants to continue to have that social engagement, because that is really crucial. And number one, for their disease, and number two, when the family is stressed out, the loved one with dementia can really feel that, and that could also lead them to their depression, deeper into their depression, which is a character of this disease by nature. So we are open to give some of our families. Unfortunately, we're not able to grow more than the required 10 people per center requirement. So we have to limit our participants and rotate them 7 at a time to come in, and so the family can get some respite.
So, Carol, I know that thank you for joining us today. It's really important to hear the voices of the people on the front line, and I want to thank you and your staff for continuing to support the families that we serve here at Alzheimer's Services of the East Bay, which is the hosting agency for Life is a Sacred Journey, and we receive funding from the Area Agency on Aging, as well as a grant from the Longs Foundation in order to have this podcast. But I remember talking to you earlier this week, and you were talking about meals. Your social worker was on the phone working with families telephonically, trying to figure out how we can get food to them. And when you did your research, we found that the city of Fremont is actually doing an incredible job. The city of Fremont is in Northern California, because this podcast is worldwide and global. But the city, you called and was able to get some Meals on Wheels possibly, and for the family, but the services are stretched. Is that not so?
They are open, but they need volunteers to do, the distribution. So we are giving our families, especially for the 2 families who are in need of assistance, the information, and it's also it's Meals on Wheels. So if people are able to just go into that, and it is going to be through the city of Fremont. So what they do is they just need to make sure that, number one, this is to service the elderly, so you have to be seniors. They need your date of birth so that they could verify that you are indeed a senior. And then the third is, of course, the address. So today, myself and my social worker will be calling the 2 families. We've actually been trying to contact them, but so far we haven't had a response. So we might just go ahead and do something else, like, maybe knock at their door and step 6 feet away and make sure that they're okay. And we'll bring them a care package today with a card in it, signed by our staff, saying that, we care for you. We just want to let you know that we're still here. Call us if you need anything, or just if you just want to talk. So we're going to prepare those care packages. And inside the care packages are also going to be 5 to 7 activities that the caregivers, can work with the loved one who is our participant, so that they can continue with that type of engagement. Coloring, crossword puzzles, that kind of stuff will be given to them in a packet with a card. And I also did a search last night and found some Montessori, related activities that the
Right.
family can do with their loved one. You'd be surprised that we assume that the families who's taking care of a loved one with memory loss would know what to do, but just because they're overwhelmed with the logistics of things, didn't have enough sleep, mom or dad is agitated, threw things on the floor, they have to clean it up, things like that, or mom or dad had an accident in the bathroom and is having a fit. So they are not able to go online. You think, oh, it's all online. Why can't they research? Well, they just don't have that 2 minutes to do that. So
right.
we're going to provide
as well as the assumption, Carol, that I heard yesterday that we think that all of our humanity has a computer or access to online information is really something that I've been saying in every single meeting that I've been a part of, whether it's a church meeting or an ASEB meeting. That is an assumption that people should not make. And even if they have a cell phone, people have to know how to access the camera. The logistics of it are way too much for somebody who's trying to do caregiving as well as, working with their loved one in this time of anxiousness and so forth. So I want to thank you. Stay on the line because I think some of the things that you're talking about are really phenomenal. I love the idea of, and we talked about that yesterday, about putting together activity packets that we can deliver to the home. And again, we're maintaining that 6 to 10 feet distance. I realize I'm sheltering in place and maintaining a 6 to 10 foot distance from my daughter. We live in the same house. We throw kisses and hugs at each other all day long. We're spraying and wiping our doorknobs and everything down. We're very fortunate and blessed that we have 2 bathrooms. So I use one bathroom, she uses the other. We leave our shoes outside when we come home and then spray the bottom of them with Lysol or wipe them with a little diluted water and alcohol, so we're not bringing outside germs from the bottom of our shoes in the home. We take off our clothes in the garage when we go out because we both are going out. We both work for essential services, and we take our clothes off in the garage. We wear things that are washable. And I've been wearing the same outfit for a couple of days. Those of you who know that I'm a fashionista, that bothers me, but I keep washing it over and over. And so we're doing all those things to keep ourselves healthy, not only to not infect each other, but to not infect someone else. When I go into a store, I wear my mask. I have a pair of, instead of gloves that I felt like I was using a lot of gloves, and so I went on Amazon and I bought a pair of what we call musician gloves. They're cotton, they're black, and so I put them on in the car and then put them on when I touch a door to open the door, and then when I go home I wash them. I got 10 of them. I think they were like $15 or something like that. So those are some of the things that we're doing in order to make sure that we're not transferring. When people are coming to the organization, meaning Alzheimer's Services for Services, we are really working hard to make sure that when they come out of the car, their loved one is not allowed in the program. We're meeting them right there, taking their temperature, doing hand sanitizer to get them into the building. Then once they're in the building, they're going to the bathroom, and we're washing their hands. And then we have a temperature checklist as well as a hand washing checklist because we are repeating that every hour on the hour. We actually are not open for the full 6 hours that we were. We're only providing 4 hours of care. And again, as I said earlier, we're rotating through. So if you're listening to this as a caregiver and has service by Alzheimer's Services of the East Bay, please contact your social worker because we will rotate people through as long as there's no symptoms. That is the most important thing. Now, I want to talk about the shelter-in-place supply checklist that I promised, and unfortunately, at the top of the list is toilet paper. But I am sure by by now that everybody has enough toilet paper based on the amount of toilet paper that I'm hearing that people have purchased over the last 2 weeks. Paper towels. They talk about paper towels, but I also know that we've been using our own towels and things like that and just washing them. Having bleach in the house that you can use and mix with water. Plastic bags. Things that Lysol makes a concentrated cleanser that used to be used in the hospitals for cleansing, and that will work really well. Hand sanitizer, you can make hand sanitizer if you have alcohol grain 60 or up. I was happy to hear that some of our distillers are beginning to use their alcohol to make hand sanitizer. So I'm not sure how they're doing that. I'm going to go online and look that up before I'm back with you again next week. But I think what a great idea. I was looking at some of the alcohol, what was it? It was gin that I haven't had drank in my house in a long time, and I was like, wow, I guess I could turn that into hand sanitizer if I needed to. So you got to just start thinking like a Girl Scout, Boy Scout, or like you're camping. And what are some of the things that you need to have in place? I think we're going to be learning a lot during this time, really a lot, about what it means to shelter in place, a new term to many of us. I never learned about that term. We need to make sure that you have your communication devices. I think this is a time that we're learning that we gave up our landlines way too quickly, because if we're having to use Zoom and Skype and all of these, having a landline actually makes it a lot easier and you have less static. Any phone numbers, making sure that you have all your emergency phone numbers in case that somebody has to come in the home and help you or help get people to you. Battery powered, all of this is stuff in the state of California we should have for earthquake preparedness, but really looking and making sure that you have it. Your medications, our nurses are calling telephonically to the families to make sure they have enough medications, and if they have any questions about administering those medications at home. And so that's a really, really good idea. I think trying to get into an exercise program in your home, I found that when I first, after my quarantine or isolation or shelter in place, I got on the scale, and why I did, I don't know, but I gained weight because while I was sheltering in place, I was eating. And so, the reality is we want to remain healthy weights and all of that while we're at home. So trying to get into a routine. And that to me is the most important thing. So, as Carol talked about, there are services like Alzheimer's Services of the East Bay that will be delivering activities of engagement for families. But keeping your loved one in a routine, not staying in bed, getting them up. If they were coming to the center, then they were up. Get them up, get dressed, do the things that you would normally be doing except going outside. Now we can still go outside in the Bay Area, and so if you have the ability to go outside with your loved one, sit on your front stoop or sit in a backyard or go for a small walk around the block, do that. Do that early in the morning when there's nobody out and about, and that will help with their anxiousness and get some of that energy off. You have to understand when a person is living with any form of dementia, their cognition is compromised, and so that's having routine is so important, and maybe writing it down with them. Sit down with your loved one and say, okay, this is going to be our routine for the next couple of days, and then in the morning go over the routine. They can make lunch, make your lunch simple. Maybe it's making a sandwich, and they can spread whatever, the mayonnaise or mustard on the salad. Integrate the activities with your loved one in a way that they're simple. they are used to having activities and being engaged, particularly if they were going to a senior center or coming to an adult day healthcare or adult daycare. So be kind of putting that back into their lives. YouTube is so amazing. You have to do a little bit of research, but as Carol said earlier, finding YouTube things like tennis games or their favorite sport or an opera or play, and then having a conversation around that. If somebody loves flowers, I pulled up a YouTube video yesterday where they went through all the different California native flowers, and you can pause it and then engage in conversation. If you have, I know photos are a thing of the past, developing them because we have them on our phones and our computers, but one of the things I did for one of our seniors here is made copies of pictures of this participant in the program, and so today when she arrives, she can sort those out. So, you can do that. Take those pictures, print them on your printer, and then make a human puzzle, a human story around those photos. So this is a time that we have to dig deep inside of ourselves and try to determine what's next. Every day we're hearing, the doom and gloom messages of a pandemic, and those are real messages and those are real concerns, and we do need to pay attention. But we will get through this if we stay in place, shelter in place, wash your hands often, avoid close contact, 6 feet, which is 2 arms length, with people who are sick and people who are not sick, because we don't know now. Clean and disinfect, frequently touch surfaces as much as possible. I realize I go in my refrigerator a lot, so now when right next to the refrigerator door, there's a thing of hand sanitizer, so that I hand sanitize when I open and I hand sanitize when I'm done. We're avoiding, of course, any close contact in congregate settings, so that's why transportation is a big deal. And then take breaks from watching the television. Don't keep watching the television. I gave up television about 30 years ago, and I know that there's a lot of good information, but when you're constantly listening to the same thing over and over, it will make you fearful and cause you to be anxious. So let's read a book. Let's read some poetry. Let's listen to some jazz. Let's listen to some classical music. Take care of your body. Do some deep breaths and stretch and meditate. Eat healthy food, not too much of it, but eat healthy food. Make time to unwind. We started an online dance challenge. I was a part of that with Mark Lampkin, another advocate in the Bay Area, and we did an online dance challenge. I know I looked ridiculous, and I know a few people probably looked at it and said some things, but you know what? I felt good after. So who cares? Let's do things that sometimes make us uncomfortable, and so let's start our own dance party. Connect with others. Get Skype, get Zoom up. Just make it happen. Connect with other people that you haven't connected with in a while. I need to do that. There's some people that I love that I have not heard their voices in a while, and so this weekend I'm going to make sure that I do that. Call your health care provider if you feel that your stress is getting high. So that means calling ASAP and letting us know. And if someone or you care about are feeling overwhelmed with emotions and sadness and depression, you feel like you might harm yourself or harm someone else, please call 911 right away, suicide prevention right away, and take care of yourself. Life is a Sacred Journey will be coming back. We haven't decided what day we will do our next broadcast, and we're probably going to do it with YouTube as well so that we can get it out to more people. We have shortened the time that we're going to be with you. Our podcast is going to be only 30 minutes, and so our 30-minute time is up. And I want to thank you for coming back to Life is a Sacred Journey. We're sorry that we had to leave you for a few minutes, but we're more than overjoyed and honored to be coming back to you to share information on this life that is a sacred journey in the pandemic. I want to thank Carol Wolf, who is our program director down in our Fremont Center, Alzheimer's Services of the East Bay, Fremont, for joining us. Have a good day.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.